Hello everybody. In today's lesson, I have planned to discuss the socio-economic, political and cultural condition, the milieu in which Jane Austen had written Pride and Prejudice. It will be an introduction of the general background of the novel. Jane Austen lived through a turbulent period of British history. It is marked by revolution abroad and unrest at home. In 1776, just 1 year after the birth of Jane Austen, the signing of the Declaration of Independence marked the American Revolution, which was followed in the next decade by the beginning of French Revolution in 1789. For the most of Jane Austen's adult life, England was engaged in war with revolutionary France, and that long war was a very significant war in British history because millions of young British men were engaged in this war, and the result of these foreign wars on England's economy was really very worsening, really very bad effect on England's economy. At the same time, this period was the period of the birth of British Empire. British colonialism expanded in every nook and corner of the world. At home, England's traditional agricultural economy and culture was being gradually transformed by the rapidly developing industrial revolution. Large number of people migrated from countryside to industrial towns like Manchester, Liverpool. The countryside became depopulated, and it has been memorably portrayed by Oliver Goldsmith in his The Deserted Village. The industrial laborers had to live in a very harsh condition. The dirty slums, the dark sky, filthy water, unhygienic sanitary condition, and the long hours of work made their life unbearable. At the same time, it was also a period of revolution and rebellion. The 18th century aristocracy was challenged by radical thinkers who demanded greater democracy and freedom. One third of England's population was living on the verge of starvation. That sparked food revolt, and that food revolt was compounded by the Luddite protesters who demonstrated their protests against the industrial machinery. These demonstrations spread fear of revolution in England, and the government responded with repressive measures that curtailed the freedom of speech. In the same period, we find the birth of evangelism, which was far removed from the traditional religion, and all sections of people started to believe in the living faith of evangelism. But the fact is that None of these tumultuous events of history was mentioned in Jane Austen's novels. As a novelist, she did not need the vast canvas of Europe torn apart by Napoleonic wars. What she needed, as she herself wrote in one of her letters to her niece Anne Austen, is 3 or 4 houses in a country village. So Jane Austen deliberately restricted herself. She depicted the lives, the ordinary events in the lives of people of her own class who lived in rural England in peace, and their lives were barely touched by these momentous happenings of history. And for that reason, even industrial revolution was not mentioned in her novels and also in Pride and Prejudice. It has been barely implied in the character of Bingley, Mr. Bingley, who doesn't have a family estate and who wants to copy, wants to emulate aristocratic man like Mr. Darcy, and he wants to buy an estate with the help of the money his father has earned in the cities of the north. That means the industrial cities like Manchester and Liverpool. Jane Austen has mentioned at the end of the Pride and Prejudice the peace treaty between England and France, but that is not because of the significance of the event. That is only just to imply that Lydia and Wickham can set up their home. So we can say that Jane Austen has restricted himself in the community of her own, which she knew very well. This period is also very important because it is the period of the birth of Romanticism. Jane Austen's life overlapped with the first phase of the great cultural shift that we call Romanticism. 18th century boasted that it is the age of reason and enlightenment. Men believed that they lived in the best of the worlds and science could give a guarantee of infinite progress in the future. In this tidy view of life, reason can explain art, nature and human mind, and for that reason head is held to prevail over heart. To fight with this kind of view, Romanticism championed intuition, emotion and imagination. 18th century's strength lies in its belief in good sense and good taste, good sense and good taste, and on restrictions. And these values were of great importance in the novel of Jane Austen, because Jane Austen was a child of 18th century. Though she lived in Romantic era, she upheld the values of 18th century. But she also knew that excessive importance on these values can resulted in deadening conventionalism, and for that reason she respected the romanticism's emphasis on emotion and intuition. But she was also conscious that romanticism resulted in sensationalism, extravaganza, excessiveness, eccentricity. But she checked this bad side of romanticism with her good sense and satire. In her writing, we can find this. The most popular fiction in romantic era was Gothic novel that was full of excessive violence, sensationalism, madness, eccentricity, and Jane Austen did not like this. She burlesques, mocks this kind of writing in her early novel Northanger Abbey. And in Pride and Prejudice, she has given us a novel which is extremely opposite of this kind of writing. Pride and Prejudice is confined, restrained, domestic, and unadventurous. So Pride and Prejudice is completely opposite of the excessiveness and eccentricity of the Gothic novel. And the values she has upheld in this novel is of the 18th century. That is the practical good sense, good taste, and civilized good behavior to others. But at the same time, she has also shown us an individual is first of all is an individual, and the genuine feelings and emotion is of paramount importance, and these things are the best of the romanticism. So Jane Austen aimed to write domestic novel, social novel, domestic novel, and not a proper kind of social novel but a domestic novel in which she has drawn the picture of the society she knew best, and for that reason she has deliberately restricted herself from these tumultuous happenings of history, and she has upheld both the best of romanticism and 18th century values. So I am concluding here, and I hope that it will help you to understand Pride and Prejudice. Thank you for watching this.